want to start with saying how much I enjoyed this movie. This is one of your best films.
Thank you, sir.
This is just really good. But before we get into this film, if someone has actually never seen anything you've directed before, what is the first thing you want them watching and why?
You know, I showed my girls the movies in order because they represented, you know, me in a different movement of wherever I was, you know, from a kid to here. So probably I would just say watch them in order because they speak to it. One's a kind of a reaction to the other or a movement from one to the next, so probably like that.
Sure. When I spoke to you a few years ago, I forget when, you told me you had like your next 3 or 4 projects figured out. Wouldn't tell me what they were.
Yeah.
But like you had your stuff together. So at this moment right now, where are you in terms of your future and how many projects you have in your mind for the future?
Yeah, it's a really odd moment. Both very wonderful and confusing because I have 3 movie ideas. So 3 movie ideas. I'm there. I even have the structure of all 3 to some extent, and so it's a very, very weird and interesting situation. I'm feeling, you know, I wish I could tell them faster. You know, I wish I could get there faster, but there is no shortcut. I have to spend the 6 to 9 months to write it. I have to storyboard for 3 months, and then we have to pre-production, and then shooting it and edit for as long as I can get every single second. You know, I just finished Knock at the Cabin, like I would say the 4 hours before I put my pencils down on Knock at the Cabin, I added one more line. Like I called an actor and I was like, say this into your phone and send it to me right now. I have an idea and put this, and I put it in. It was like that, you know, one last idea, and then they were like, pencils down. You can't put another idea in it.
So basically you're saying that like literally every 2 years from now, for the next 6 years, most likely there'll be a movie.
Definitely, but I'm hoping to do it a tiny bit faster than that. Let's see if I can handle it. You know, what Servant taught me was, wow, there's a beauty to creating when you have a lot of things on your table that you don't. I like me as a human being, I don't spend as much time angsting, and I spend more time doing. So and the doing makes the iteration process quicker because I'm doing it and it doesn't work or it does work, and I'm like, oh, it doesn't, you know. And so I stopped being so precious because there was just an enormous amount of work to do on Servant. So 1 floor of a building had Servant and 1 had Knock at the Cabin. I'm running upstairs and this side, and the editor would show me something here or a composer would show me something here, and I'd say, this movement needs to go like that, and you just go to the next question. It was almost like playing multiple games of chess at the same time, and I found that I stayed healthier rather than retreating to my unhealthy version of myself of, you know, imposter syndrome or being destructive or whatever it is, you know, ego-driven stuff, that I was just reacting to the material.
Definitely have to know, Servant obviously was a big hit on Apple. Do you have another TV idea, or is that something that still interests you?
It is. I don't think I could do that anymore, where I was doing everything, where every sound effect, every music cue, everything was coming through me. I would love to find a fellow showrunner or showrunner that I could help with her voice or his voice, and help them get to the finish line.
I got to be honest. I think you're too much of a micromanager.
It's so true.
So
don't say that. Don't say that. That's going to scare off everybody.
No, but I mean, like, I think that you are, because you're very passionate about your stuff, and you know. But it's one of the reasons why your name is synonymous, you know, with it's because of who you are.
I'm hoping that there's a healthy balance in the future that we can find for something like that.
You've done cameos in all your projects. The cameo in this is spectacular. Which is your favorite cameo in all your films?
You know, sometimes I'm not in the films because I just can't. You know, it doesn't seem right. And this one, I thought for sure I'm not going to be in. That's what I thought for sure. And then in pre-production, I was like, you know what would be? I have a funny idea. And then then everybody enjoyed the concept so much. I was like, all right, let's go shoot it. It was the first thing we shot. This thing that's in Knock at the Cabin, and I was like, oh, this is never going to end up in the movie, and it did, and the editor was like, I love it, it's so funny, and I was like, you sure?
It is. Is this your favorite one?
I think the degree of difficulty was the highest of how to get in there.
Sure. So this is jumping into your film.
Yeah.
This is adapted from a book, and you've definitely made changes from the book. There's a huge change in terms of the daughter, and I'm curious, how did you figure out what you wanted to change, and how nervous were you to change something like that?
Well, I was very organic. The movie came to me as a producing entity, where the writers and the directors who were on wanted to make a straight adaptation of the book, just word, moment for moment, straight adaptation, and that's how it came to me. And then I said, I love this premise so deeply, and I think you guys are onto something. I really do. I don't believe in the story when it went left. I can't get behind that, and I think my audience, I wouldn't want to have them experience that. That's what I said, and I said, I totally support you, and I wish you the best. And then they went, and it didn't come together, that movie. And then organically, the book came back to me, and they said, we loved what you were saying about, I said what I thought it should happen and where the story should go. And then they said, we really believe in what you just said. And I said, Then I was thinking about it, and I thought, I believe in this premise so much. I'm having that irrational connection to it. And I could see myself working on it for a year and a half from there. And so I said, you know what? I'm actually going to do it myself. And so it was very beautiful in the way it kind of came organically back.
And they jumped up and down, were excited because it meant that it was going to get made.
Yes.
You shot with 2 directors of photography on this. They both worked on Servant. Yeah. One of them shot The Lighthouse. Yeah. And Jarvin is, his work is great. How did you end up with 2 DPs?
It was a scheduled thing. Jaron ended up doing all the interiors, and not every single interior, but almost all of them. And then Lowell did the exteriors, So it was there was an organic place in the schedule where we could make that happen, and I was very lucky to have both of them there. I love them both. They're good human beings, really, both of them. And obviously I love them because I worked with them on Servant, and I was like, hey, let's do this together. And I love working with new people. And Jaron is just a very special mind, the way he thinks about lighting. And it's very complex way we shot the cabin. There's no lights inside, so that we didn't use any lights. There were no bounces, nothing. It's just coming from the windows and the doors. And so very naturalistic way to shoot on a stage. And it creates a very beautiful, difficult to, exposed to, difficult, all of that stuff to work around, because if you move a little bit like this, then you see the lights in all the windows, so you have to adjust everything. It's a tedious process, but it yields something very beautiful.
It also looks like it's shot on location.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Yeah, because of that.
Yeah, exactly. So you have some really good use of, I really like the aesthetic and how you shot this, and I loved the use of close-ups.
Yeah.
And I'm curious if you could talk a little bit about why you wanted close-ups in certain scenes.
If you think about this, the language of cinema and wide shots, mid shots, and then close-ups, they are different ways that the characters are interacting with their environment. So you might, let's say, if I'm in a hostage situation like that, and I'm thinking about escape, I might be talking to you, but I'm thinking about how to get out, and I could do that in a wide shot because that's conveying that the character is saying, "Hey, it's going to be all right. I'm fine." But I'm thinking about the windows and the doors, and you see me like struggling. If there's a specific thing that I'm feeling, I tend to do it closer. Like I'm trying to ascertain whether you're crazy or you're going to hurt me right now. I'm in hyper close-up with you. I'm watching your facial expressions. I don't really care about your legs. And so the movie starts with a gunshot, right? It starts immediately with the stranger showing up. And so there's a lot of close-ups because they're at a 9 from almost go. You're with your daughter and strangers break into your house. You're at a 9, and you need to get out of here.
I like talking about the editing process.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how this film changed in the editing room.
Yeah.
And did you have a much longer cut?
The movie's my shortest screenplay. Noemi, who cut it, is a very beautiful editor. She's as sharp in her editing and physical as she is her ability to assess performance, which is, the most important thing, to be able to arc characters' performances with me and having a sense of that, So she has both muscles, the muscularity to keep it going, but the delicacy of picking the right performances. It was, basically, we squeezed and squeezed and squeezed and squeezed it to get to the essence of it, because what is too much to be said? How do we... It became, I was amazed at how much we squeezed it. And when you watch it, it's breathless because we took everything out that every line, every redundancy that we could think of, we pulled out. And so it's a harsh part of the process as you do that. If you're honest with yourself and you're moving towards this one thing, this movement like that, and there's a lot of rewriting that's going on. I wish the character said that, and then I do that line, or we do reshoots and I make sure I get those things. I wish that this scene ended with this, and so it's a very complicated, organic process of listening to the story and how you watch it. If me and her watch it in the editing room, then I have a little theater at home and we watch it with the crew, then it has a different feeling. But that's different than when we put it with 200 people in an audience, and those are 3 different versions of the same cut. And you have to be honest with yourself about the only one that matters is that last one with the audience.
No, 100%. So I'm just going to see what you'll tell me. I know you have a release date of your next movie. What can you tease fans of yours about the next one?
God, there's one thing I want to tell you so badly. I'm just dying to tell you. And then when we meet later for that movie, you're going to tell me, what was that? So there's this thing I'm dying to tell you about it, which is super special to me. I'll tell you, let me see, what can I tell you? I was kind of, it's interesting, both this last one, meaning Knock at the Cabin, because I was thinking of it for somebody else, right? I was thinking of it as a mentor or as a producer for the other people. So I was thinking about what it should be in a very organic way. And then it came to, I decided to do that version because I felt so deeply about it. Same thing happened with this. I was thinking about it as something for someone else to direct, as an idea for someone else to direct. And I just kept on thinking about it, and I was like, well, then this could happen, and then that could happen. Oh, my God, and then this could happen. Oh, no, and then this happened. And then I got through the whole thing, and I was like, I'm going to do this. It's the same exact thing happening again. Maybe it's one of those things, like you said, I can never let go of it. But,
I'm telling you, this is the thing. Do you want to tell me the title or no? I heard the voice off camera. No.
Yeah. I want to tell you the title.
Sure.
I really do.
I can tell. Well, when you're ready to say it, you should reach out to me and be like, and here's the title of the new M. Night movie.
Okay, great.
You know what I mean? But listen, man, congrats on this. It's really fantastic.
Thank you, brother.